Okay, in this recording I want to show you how to install R and also install RStudio. So here I've gone out to one of the CRAN sites, CRAN mirrors, that has the R download for Windows, because I'm going to be downloading this on Windows 10. But they also have R for Mac if you're working on a Mac. So just to show you how I got here, I'll back up a little bit. And all I really did is I went out to the internet, I typed in R download, and if we do that, you'll see you get this R official site for the R project. And then if you come out to the main site and you click on download R, you'll see they have all these mirrors around the world. And then I just went down to US, just picked the first one, and then you can see that there's downloads for Linux, Mac, and Windows. I'm assuming that all of you will either be using Mac or Windows, but you're certainly willing, or you're certainly welcome to use Linux as well. I'll be using a Windows machine when I show you anything with R this semester. So I'm going to click on the download R for Windows. We'll see this base here. I'm going to click on that and then click the download R 3.32 for Windows. And then I'm in Firefox here. I can see once it's downloaded, I just have an exe. Click on that, and then it will install R on my machine here. And I happen to be using a virtual machine, but all the steps will be the same for you guys. And you can just take the defaults on everything, allow it to install. If you want to create a desktop icon, that's fine. And then it just takes a couple of seconds really to install R. Now R comes with its own command line utility that you can use, but most people, or at least I and a number of other people, prefer to use a product called RStudio. So once R is installed, which like I said only takes a minute, the next thing you're going to want to do is go out and get RStudio, which I'll show you how to do in just a second. So you can see this is cranking through. It's finished. I'm going to go ahead and click finish here. And then if I were to look on my virtual machine here, I would see that R has been installed. And if I clicked on that, it would actually bring up the R console, which is a perfectly valid way to use it, but not the way we're gonna use it. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that R console, and then I'm gonna type RStudio, and I'll select download, and then we can see this RStudio out here. A couple of different links to the same place. I'll just go to rstudio.com here. And this is available in a commercially supported and a kind of freeware version. Go click the desktop. You can see that they offer you two different versions here. We're just going to take the open source. I'm going to download RStudio desktop. They're of course going to take another swing at trying to get me to pay for it, which you might want to do at some point in your life. And now you can see that they've got the various versions. Now it's you can see again here, available for Mac, available for Windows, and then some various Linux versions as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the installer for Windows. We'll save that file quick. And once it's downloaded, then I will do the same thing that I did with R. and I will click on the EXE. And then I'm again just going to take the defaults here, nothing fancy. Now I assume this will be pretty much similar experience on Mac, but I have to admit I'm not a Mac user, so there may be some slight differences that I'm not aware of. But I've known plenty of people who are Macophiles and use R and RStudio on a regular basis, so I assume that it should be a fairly straightforward install on Macintosh as well. So we just need to wait a second while RStudio loads up here. Once the setup has completed, you should be able to click Finish. And then in your application menu, you should have a link now for, or an icon for RStudio. Open up RStudio, and if everything has gone according to plan, you should end up with something that looks familiar to this. And you'll see that RStudio should recognize the installed version of R that you have on your machine, and you should have the console sitting here and ready to go. So in later examples, we'll talk about how to set up our RStudio GUI interface to look the way that we want it to do our work. But if you got this far, then you've successfully installed R and RStudio.